Throwaway. BC, my ex's family is always on social media, and I don't want this getting back to them. So I, female, 26, just went through the most awkward breakup of my life, and I honestly don't know if I'm a terrible person or not. I've been dating this guy, Mike, male, 28, for about 3 months, and things were going really well. Like he was talking about me meeting more of his family and maybe planning a weekend trip together. But then I met his family, and everything just fell apart. Let me back up. Mike lives about an hour from his family, but he's super close with them, especially his mom. His older brother Dave, male, 31, basically runs the whole household and helps with bills and stuff. Mike always talks about how grateful he is that his brother handles everything so he can focus on his career. Anyway, Mike invited me to this family barbecue thing 3 weeks ago, and I was actually excited to meet everyone. His mom has been wanting to meet me forever, according to Mike, and I figured it would be good to show I'm serious about the relationship, you know? So I drive out there on Saturday afternoon, and his mom, Susan, immediately puts me to work helping set up in the backyard. I'm putting out plates and listening to her talk about family traditions when Dave walks in from the pool area. And I swear to God, I literally stopped mid-sentence and just stared. He's standing there dripping wet with a towel around his shoulders, no shirt on, and I'm not even kidding when I say my brain just completely shut off. Here's the thing. Mike and Dave look so much alike. Like, Dave is 3 years older and a little bigger. He works construction. But they have the same dark hair, same jawline, same smile. But there was something about the way Dave looked that just hit me different. Maybe it was the way he carried himself. Mike is sweet, but he's kind of soft, if that makes sense. Dave looked like, I don't know how to explain it without sounding terrible, but he just seemed more solid, more serious. Susan noticed me gawking because apparently I have zero subtlety and made some comment about some people not being able to focus on family conversations, which was mortifying, but also kind of bitchy. Like, yeah, I was distracted, but she didn't need to call me out like that. The whole afternoon, I kept finding excuses to sit where I could see Dave better. When he and Mike were standing together talking, I couldn't stop comparing them. Mike was wearing this polo shirt that he always wears to family stuff. His mom bought it for him. And Dave was in this old band t-shirt, which made me feel even worse about staring, but I couldn't help it. The worst part was when Dave took his shirt off again to go swimming after lunch. I literally had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom because I was worried someone would notice me being weird. I stood in their hallway bathroom for like 10 minutes trying to get my shit together and figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I mean, I'm not normally like this. I don't just lose my mind over random guys, but something about Dave was just different. I honestly don't know what it was. The drive home was torture because Mike kept talking about how great it went and how much his family liked me. He was already making plans for me to come to his grandma's birthday party next month. And I just sat there feeling like the worst person alive because I couldn't stop thinking about his brother. I tried to shake it off for like 2 weeks. I really did. But every time Mike touched me or we were kissing or whatever, I kept thinking about Dave, which is so fucked up, and I know that. Mike is a good guy, and he didn't deserve what I was about to do to him. So last Tuesday, I asked Mike to meet me for dinner at this place we always go to. I was totally distracted the whole time, kept checking my phone, which I never do during dates, and Mike could tell something was off. When he asked what was wrong, I told him I'd been thinking about whether we were actually compatible long term. He wanted specifics, and I panicked. I brought up physical attraction and how sometimes it fades over time, and then I just said it. I told him I was uncomfortable with how much he looks like his brother, and that it was making things weird for me. Mike was so confused. He said he thought it was actually a good thing that we'd probably have cute kids who looked like his family, which made me feel even more terrible because he was talking about kids and I was thinking about banging his brother. I kept saying we should end things before it got more serious, and eventually he just agreed. He looked really hurt, but he said if that's how I felt, then maybe we weren't meant to be together. The whole thing was awful. I've been a mess for the past week. Part of me knows I did the right thing, because staying with Mike while thinking about Dave would have been worse. But another part of me thinks I'm just a shallow, terrible person who threw away a good relationship because I got hot and bothered by someone's shirtless brother. I posted about this in another subreddit a few days ago, without mentioning the brother thing, obviously, asking if I was wrong for breaking up with someone because we looked too similar. The responses were all over the place, but mostly people called me shallow, which honestly pissed me off because they don't know the full story. I ended up arguing with people in the comments, which just made more people think I'm a bitch. Mike texted me yesterday asking if we could talk because he's still processing everything and wants to understand what went wrong. I haven't responded because, honestly, what am I supposed to say? That I couldn't stop fantasizing about his older brother, that every time I looked at him, I was thinking about someone else. His mom probably thinks I'm some flaky girl who wasn't serious about family anyway. She kept going on about commitment and how important it is to stick together when things get hard. Which is ironic, because I'm apparently the kind of person who runs the second things get complicated in her own head. Am I the idiot for breaking up with my boyfriend because he looks too much like his brother? I know how it sounds, but I swear there was more to it than just physical stuff. Though I guess that doesn't make it better. Edit. Since so many people are asking, no, I didn't cheat or do anything physical with the brother. I barely even talked to him beyond basic polite conversation. And before anyone suggests it, I'm not planning to pursue anything with Dave because that would be absolutely insane and would destroy their family. I'm not that much of a sociopath. I know some of you think I should have tried to work through these feelings instead of just ending things. Maybe you're right, but I've never been good at pushing through relationship problems when my heart isn't in it anymore. I usually just follow my gut, even when it leads to messy situations like this one. Now for the first update. My ex-boyfriend's family started a social media war about me, and now I'm stuck in online drama. So things got worse since my last post about breaking up with Mike. A lot of you called me shallow. Thanks for that. But honestly, what's been happening since then is making me think maybe I dodged a bullet with this family. It's been 3 weeks since the breakup, and I thought things were finally settling down. Mike stopped texting me, and I was starting to feel normal again. But then yesterday, my friend Sarah texted me a screenshot during my lunch break, and I literally almost choked on my sandwich. It was Dave's Instagram story. You know, the brother I definitely wasn't supposed to be thinking about. The story was this quote about people who make decisions based on shallow attraction and judge everything after one family gathering. Sarah obviously knew it was about me because she added like 5 eye-rolling emojis and wrote, "Is this about you?" I immediately went to his profile, which I know I probably shouldn't have done, but whatever, and there were like 6 more stories. All these quotes about fake people and family loyalty and knowing someone's true character. It was so obvious he was talking about me that I wanted to disappear into the floor. I screenshot everything and sent it to Sarah and my other friend Jen, asking if they thought it was definitely about me. They both said it was totally obvious, and that made me feel so exposed and pissed off. Like, why is this 31-year-old man posting passive-aggressive quotes on Instagram like he's in high school? I spent the rest of my workday refreshing his profile to see if he was going to post more crap, which I know sounds pathetic, but I couldn't help it. When I'm stressed, I basically live on social media, and this was making me spiral. By the time I got home, I was so angry, I just found his Instagram handle. I remembered it from when I was stalking his profile earlier and messaged him directly. I know that was probably stupid, but I wanted him to stop posting about me where all our mutual connections could see it. I sent him something like, "Hey, can you please stop posting about me on your stories? I get that you're upset, but this is making things worse for everyone." He responded so fast, like he'd been waiting for me to reach out, and what he said back made my stomach drop. He straight up accused me of staring at him during the barbecue. He said my actions were inappropriate and disrespectful to Mike. He said I was obviously checking him out, and that he noticed but didn't want to embarrass me in front of the family. I tried to deny it, but honestly, he totally caught me. Like, there's no point pretending I wasn't looking at him because apparently I have zero subtlety, as his mom already pointed out that day. Things got really nasty really fast. He said I never deserved Mike anyway and was probably planning to bail on the relationship from the start. That I was just looking for excuses to leave because I'm not the type of person who commits to family. I got defensive, obviously, and said some stuff about him being bitter and alone and taking his issues out on me, which was probably mean, but I was so angry at that point. Then he said something that really got to me. He said I was exactly the type of person my mom warned us about, and that the family had been talking about whether I was actually serious about Mike or just wasting his time. Wait, what? His mom had been talking about me. When? I thought the barbecue went well, aside from the whole staring situation. Mike said his family liked me, but apparently his mom had been telling people I seemed checked out and was always on my phone texting someone, which is weird because I barely used my phone that day, except when I went to the bathroom to get my shit together. I asked Dave what exactly his mom saw, and he got even more pissed. Said I was trying to lie to him about stuff that happened in front of the whole family, but when I pushed for specifics, he just kept saying, "You know what you did." The thing is, I honestly don't remember being on my phone that much at the barbecue. I thought I barely used it, except when I went to the bathroom. But maybe I was more distracted than I realized. Maybe when I was trying so hard not to stare at Dave, I was unconsciously checking my phone as a way to look busy or avoid eye contact. I honestly can't tell anymore if I'm remembering wrong or if his mom is exaggerating. The fight went on for like an hour with both of us saying increasingly nasty stuff. I called him controlling and said no wonder he's single if this is how he handles conflict. He said I was manipulative and probably cheating on Mike the whole time, which, what the frick. I finally told him to lose my number and blocked him. But here's where it gets worse. Apparently, he screenshot our entire conversation and shared it in their family group chat. Because this morning, Sarah sent me more screenshots. Now his girlfriend, didn't even know he had one, posted a story about people who hurt good families, with a bunch of photos of Dave at family events. And other family members are liking and commenting on all his Instagram posts with supportive shit. Like his aunt commented, "Family first always," and his cousin shared one of his stories about loyalty. I feel like there's this whole narrative being created about me, and I don't even know what I supposedly did wrong beyond looking at someone, breaking up with their precious son brother. The worst part is my friends keep sending me screenshots of new posts. I know they think they're helping, but it's making me obsessively check social media even more. I'm starting to think Mike's family has some serious issues with control and boundaries. Like who coordinates a social media campaign against their son's ex-girlfriend over a 3-month relationship? But then again, maybe I really am just a terrible person who ruined a good thing because I couldn't keep my eyes to myself at one family barbecue. I honestly don't know anymore. The whole thing is making me question everything about that day. Was I really that obvious? Did I actually use my phone more than I remember? Was Mike's mom picking up on something I didn't even realize I was doing? I keep going back and forth between feeling like a victim and feeling like I deserve this, which is probably exactly what they want. Edit. A few people are asking if I saved the screenshots of our conversation before blocking Dave. I did screenshot some of it, but honestly, looking at it again just makes me feel worse. Also, to whoever suggested I reach out to Mike to clear the air, absolutely not. The last thing I need is to drag him into this mess when he's probably already dealing with family stuff about me. Now for the second update. My ex called me out of nowhere, and now everything makes sense, but also everything is worse. So remember how I was dealing with that whole social media war with my ex's family? Well, things have gotten complicated. Like really, really complicated. And I honestly don't know if I'm the villain in this story or if I've been played this whole time. I know how this is gonna sound, but I swear every word is true, even the parts that make me look terrible. It's been about 5 weeks since all that Instagram stuff with Dave and I thought everything had finally died down. I stopped checking their social media mostly and was trying to move on with my life. Okay, I need to just come clean here because this is gonna come out anyway. I've been seeing Dave for the past month. He'd apparently broken up with his girlfriend shortly before he messaged me again, though he didn't offer many details about that situation, and I didn't push. I know how that sounds. I know exactly what you're all thinking, and honestly, you're probably right to think it. But before you completely drag me in the comments, let me explain how we got here, because it's not what you think. Actually, no, it's probably exactly what you think, but it's also more complicated than that. So, about 3 weeks after our big Instagram fight, Dave messaged me again. Not to apologize or anything, but to tell me his mom had been asking questions about our conversation, and he wanted to make sure I wasn't going to screenshot anything and post it online. which was honestly insulting because I'm not a psycho who posts private conversations for revenge. But we ended up talking for like an hour about the whole family situation, and I don't know. He was different when he wasn't being all protective and defensive. He actually apologized for the social media stuff and said he was just pissed about his brother being hurt. One thing led to another, and we met up for coffee the next week. Just to clear the air, I swear that's all it was supposed to be. But we ended up talking for 3 hours, and there was definitely something there. I know that makes me sound like a terrible person, but I can't change how I felt. We've been hanging out ever since. Not officially dating or anything serious, just spending time together. Mostly at his place, because obviously we can't be seen anywhere Mike might be. I know this probably confirms everyone's worst opinions about me from my last posts, that I'm shallow and was always more interested in Dave than Mike. And maybe that's true. I honestly don't know anymore. But I swear I never planned for this to happen. Anyway, that's the backstory you need for what happened last night. I was at home watching Netflix when my phone rang around 9 p.m. Unknown number, but local area code, so I figured it might be work or something. It was Mike. I honestly almost hung up because we haven't actually talked since our breakup dinner 2 months ago. He'd sent a few texts asking to talk, but I never responded. But something in his voice made me stay on the line. He sounded exhausted, like completely drained. He started off apologizing for calling out of nowhere and said he'd been thinking about our relationship a lot lately, which immediately made me panic because obviously I'm now secretly dating his brother, and this felt like the worst possible timing. But then he started explaining why he'd been thinking about us, and my guilt turned into confusion really fast. Apparently, he's been dealing with way more stuff with his grandma since we broke up. Like a lot more. She's been having more health issues and needs someone to drive her to appointments, help with grocery shopping, manage her medications, all that stuff. And apparently Dave, who used to handle most of that, has been too busy with work projects to help as much. So Mike's been stuck doing it all. He sounded so tired, you guys. Like he was barely holding it together. He kept saying stuff like, "I never realized how much Dave was doing," and "I don't know how he managed all this," plus his own life. I'm sitting there, feeling like the worst person alive, because I know exactly why Dave has been too busy to help with grandma stuff. He's been spending time with me. But then, Mike said something that really caught my attention. He said he'd been thinking about our relationship because all this family stress was making him question whether he ever really understood what was going on around him. He said he'd been replaying that barbecue in his head, trying to figure out why I seemed so checked out and uninterested in his family. And that's when I got confused, because I definitely wasn't checked out. I was paying attention to everything, maybe a little too much attention to certain people, but still. I asked him what he meant by checked out, and he said I seemed distant and like I was always texting someone instead of engaging with his family, which matched exactly what David told me during our Instagram fight, but I wanted to hear it directly from Mike, which, what? I barely used my phone that day, except when I went to the bathroom. I specifically remember trying to be super present and engaged because I wanted to make a good impression. So I told him that, and he got quiet for a minute. Then he told me his mom had said I was on my phone constantly and seemed like I wasn't really interested in getting to know everyone. Something about the way he said it made me push harder. I asked him if he actually saw me on my phone, or if he was just repeating what his mom told him. Another long pause. Then he admitted he couldn't actually remember seeing me use my phone during family time. He said his mom had mentioned it to him later, and he just accepted it as true. You guys, I got this sick feeling in my stomach. I asked him what other stuff his mom had said about me, and he started listing things off. How I seemed uncomfortable around the family. How I didn't ask many questions about their traditions. How I left early. I didn't leave early, we stayed until like 8 p.m. And as he's saying all this, I can hear him starting to question it too. Because when I pushed back on the details, he kept having to admit he didn't actually witness most of the stuff his mom claimed happened. The conversation went on for over an hour, and by the end of it, Mike sounded really shaken up. He said he needed to think about some things and hung up. I couldn't sleep all night. I kept thinking about how his mom apparently spent weeks after that barbecue telling Mike I was sketchy and untrustworthy, creating this whole narrative about me being a bad girlfriend, Based on what exactly? Around midnight, I got another call from Mike. He sounded even more upset than before. He said he'd confronted his mom about the specific things she'd told him about me, asked her to explain exactly what she saw that made her think I was being shady. Apparently, she got really defensive really fast, started saying she was just protecting the family and that she had a feeling about me. When he pushed for actual examples, she couldn't give him any. Then she got pissed at him for questioning her judgment and said he was choosing outsiders over family, which honestly sounds exactly like something she would say based on what Dave has told me about her. Mike said it was like talking to a completely different person. She was so angry and defensive that he started realizing she might have been deliberately messing with his head about me. That's when he called to apologize and ask if we could maybe try again. And that's when I had to tell him about Dave. The silence on the phone was probably the worst 10 seconds of my life. I could practically hear him processing what I just said. When he finally spoke, he asked if I was fucking kidding him in this voice I've never heard from him before. Not yelling, just cold. I tried to explain that it wasn't planned and that nothing happened while we were together, but he cut me off. He said he needed to go and hung up. That was last night, and I haven't heard from him since. But Dave texted me this morning saying his family group chat exploded overnight and his mom isn't responding to anyone's messages. Apparently, Mike confronted Dave too, and there was this huge fight where Mike accused Dave of manipulating the whole situation from the beginning. Dave denies that, but honestly, I'm starting to wonder. The timing of everything is just so weird. His mom creating all this mess about me being untrustworthy. Dave being the one to notice me staring at the barbecue and then posting all that social media stuff. And now Dave is suddenly too busy to help with grandma care right when Mike and I break up. I feel like I've been caught up in some family chaos that's way bigger than just my relationship with Mike. But I also can't ignore that I'm the one who chose to start seeing Dave, so maybe I'm just as manipulative as the rest of them. The worst part is I actually have feelings for Dave now, like real feelings, not just physical attraction, which makes everything so much more complicated because I don't know if any of this was real or if I've been played by someone who's way better at manipulation than I am. Mike deserves so much better than this mess. His family basically sabotaged his relationship, and then his brother swooped in on his ex. That's so fucked up, and I'm right in the middle of it. I don't even know what I'm asking for here. I guess I just needed to tell someone because I can't talk to my friends about this without them thinking I'm a complete sociopath. Edit 1. To everyone who's gonna say I should have known better than to get involved with Dave, you're right, and I have no excuse. 2. Yes, I realize how bad the timing looks, but I swear nothing physical happened until after Mike and I were completely done. 3. Before anyone asks, no, I haven't heard from the mom at all since this blew up, and honestly, I'm scared to find out what she's planning. 4. I know some of you are going to say Mike is better off without me and his toxic family, and honestly, you're probably right about that too.